Okay, so for today, we will be discussing Republic Act 9262. Natakal nyo na rin ba ito sa iba nyong subject? Not yet. Di pa? You don't know. Walang sumasagot. Okay, anyway. So Republic Act 9262 is an act defining violence against women and their children, protective measures for victims, prescribing penalties therefore, and for other purposes. And this is also known as the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004 or yung Anti-VAUSI. Yan yung VAUSI law. Okay, skip na natin tong iba, no? Okay, dito tayo sa definition of terms. First is violence against women and their children. This refers to any, nasa section 3 tayo any act or a series of acts committed by any person against a woman who is his wife. Take note ha, sa babae lang ito. Ang gumawa ng krimen ay yung partner ng babae. Kaya ang victim is a female only. Kaya ang sabi dyan, wife, former wife, or against a woman with whom the person has or had a sexual or dating relationship, or with whom he has a common child, or against her child, whether legitimate or illegitimate, within or without the family abode, nasa bahay daw ba o wala doon sa kanilang tirahan, which result in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm or suffering, or economic abuse, including threats of such acts, battery, assault, coercion, harassment, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty. So we have four types of abuse. Okay, we have physical violence. Obvious naman dahil nga physical violence yan. Ibig sabihin, this includes bodily or physical harm. As in, physical kang sinaktan, binugbog ka, sinampal ka, tinadyakan ka, or whatever. Then we also have sexual violence. This refers to an act which is sexual in nature committed against a woman or her child. It includes but it's not limited to rape, sexual harassment, acts of lasciviousness, treating a woman or her child as a sex object, making demeaning or sexually suggestive remarks na nga nagsasabi ng hindi magaganda, yun nga, sexually suggestive, physically attacking the sexual parts of the victim's body, forcing her or him to watch. Bakit may him? Kasi yung bata, kasi 'di ba, violence against women and their children. Tinutukoy doon, walang pinipiling pwedeng lalaki, pwedeng babae. Okay? Sa children lang yun pero doon sa older person na magfo-fall under this law is yung babae lang, wife, girlfriend, or ex. Okay. Forcing her or him to watch obscene publications. Pinipilit mo yung bata manood ng porn. And indecent shows, or forcing the woman or her child to do indecent acts and or make films thereof, forcing the wife and mistress or lover to live in the conjugal home or sleep together in the same room with the abuser. Acts causing or attempting to cause the victim to engage in any sexual activity by force, threat of force, physical or other harm, or threat of physical or other harm or coercion. Then we have prostituting the woman or the child. And then that's part of sexual violence pa lang. Another one is psychological violence. So, in this type of violence, you cause anxiety to the victim. Ganun. This refers to acts or omissions causing or likely to cause mental or emotional suffering of the victim, such as, but not limited to, intimidation, tinatakot mo. So, psychological yon. Harassment, stalking, damage to property, public ridicule or humiliation, pinapahiya ka sa publiko. Repeated verbal abuse. So, part yun kasi verbal. Um, Hindi ka naman physical na masasaktan do'n, verbal nga, eh. So, puro pananalita. It will fall under psychological violence, yung sinasabihan ka ng hindi magaganda. Okay? And mental infidelity. It includes causing or allowing the victim to witness the physical, sexual, or psychological abuse of a member of the family to which the victim belongs. So, for example, ako, I have a family. Yung family members ko na yun, sila yung inaabuso. Ako hindi, physically or sexually. Pero, nagiging abused ako in the sense na I am suffering from psychological violence kasi hinahayaang makita ko yung ginagawa sa mga sa pamilya ko. Okay. Or to witness pornography in any form or to witness abusive injury to pets or to unlawful or unwanted deprivation of the right to custody and or visitation of common children. Hindi sabihin natin hindi naiwasan na maghiwalay ang magulang. Tapos yung isang magulang ayaw niyang kinuha niya yung bata, yung anak nila, tapos hindi niya inaalaw na mabisita siya nung partner niya. Ayan, that's also part of psychological violence. Okay, economic abuse. This refers to acts that make or attempt to make a woman financially dependent, which includes but is not limited to the following: withdrawal of social support or preventing the victim from engaging in any legitimate profession, occupation, business, or activity, except in cases wherein the other spouse or partner objects on valid, serious, and moral grounds as defined in the family code. Kapag yung lalaki hindi pinapayagan yung kanyang asawa na magtrabaho without any legitimate cause. Kumbaga, I know may mga gano'n naman talaga eh na uh, pinipili ng babae na maging housewife, pero dito sa economic abuse na to, hindi talaga pinapayagan. As in, bawal talaga siya, kinulong siya sa bahay. Ganun na. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being a homemaker. My mother is a homemaker. Um, Yan, simula nang naging husband and wife sila ni papa ko, hindi na siya nag-work talaga. Nag-focus talaga siya sa pag-aalaga sa amin ng kapatid ko. And there's nothing wrong with that. In economic abuse, hindi pinayagan. Pinawal talaga. Okay. Maliban na nga lang daw kung may grounds under the family code na hindi pwede magtrabaho yung partner. Okay, then it would not fall on economic abuse. Other than that, it would fall. Okay. Deprivation or threat of deprivation of financial resources and the right to the use and enjoyment of the conjugal community or property owned in common. So, ang isa pa, part pala nito sa economic abuse kapag hindi na nagsusustento. Sabihin natin naghiwalay din. O sabihin natin hindi naghiwalay, pero hindi nagsusustento. Part yun. Papasok siya sa economic abuse. And then, sinasabi na hindi na kita bibigyan ng sustento. Tinatakot pa lang. O kaya, hindi na talaga binigyan. O kaya, yung conjugal property nila, sabihin nating bahay. Familiar ba kayo sa conjugal property? When you say conjugal, this conjugal property, this is a property acquired during marriage. For example, sabihin natin, ako tsaka yung husband ko, nakabili kami ng bahay. Mag-asawa na kami nung nabili namin yun. So yun, yung bahay na yun would be considered conjugal property because we were able to buy it during our marriage. Okay. So kung may property ka, kunyari ako, may bahay at lupa ako nung single pa ako, hindi siya magiging part ng conjugal property. Kasi hindi siya na-acquire during marriage. Okay. Tapos, dito sa economic abuse, yung lalaki hindi niya pinapagamit yung mga conjugal property. Bahay, sasakyan, at kung ano pa man. Okay. And then destroying household property. That's economic abuse. Controlling the victim's own money or property. Sabihin natin, ikaw, di ba ba, may sarili ka namang pera, pero hindi mo nagagamit yung pera mo kasi kinukuha ng asawa mo. That's economic abuse. Or properties or solely controlling the conjugal money or the properties. Okay. Battery. Hindi yan yung baterya, ha? Battery is when you batter someone, as in binugbog mo ang isang tao. Refers to an act of inflicting physical harm upon the woman or her child resulting to the physical and psychological or emotional distress. Then we have battered woman syndrome. This refers to a scientifically defined pattern of psychological and behavioral symptoms found in women living in battering relationships as a result of cumulative abuse. So, uh, a woman can be considered suffering from battered woman syndrome. Hindi yung, yari, nasampal ka ngayon ng asawa mo, ay, battered woman syndrome na. Hindi. Because battered woman syndrome is a cycle. Binugbog ka ngayon. After a few months, binugbog ka ulit. Then, after a few weeks, binugbog ka ulit. Basta tuloy-tuloy siya. Ah, pero may mga matitinding case talaga na everyday talaga nakakaranas ng pambubugbog. Yung taong yun is suffering from battered woman syndrome. And later on in the law, sasabihin dyan na this can be used as a defense. Kung sakaling, nyari, napuno na talaga yung babae, napatay niya yung lalaki dahil nga binubugbog siya. Then, it can be used as a defense na kaya niya nabugbog kasi nga, she is already suffering from battered woman syndrome. Okay. Stalking. Man. Dating relationship refers to a situation wherein the parties live as husband and wife. So, ito yung mga live-in without the benefit of marriage. Hindi sila kasal pero magkasama sila sa isang bahay. So, dating relationship yun. Or, are romantically involved over time and on a continuing basis during the course of the relationship. So, a casual acquaintance or ordinary socialization between two individuals in a business or social context is not a dating relationship. Okay. Pag sinabi naman sexual relations, this is a single sexual act which may or may not result to a common child. And then, safe place or shelter. This refers to any home or institution maintained or managed by the DSWD or by any other agency or voluntary organization accredited by the DSWD for the purposes of this act. Or any other suitable place, the resident of which is willing temporarily to receive the victim. Kaya nga siya shelter. Like, you give shelter to victims. Safe place. Okay, pag sinabi naman children, basta below 18. Matic children na yun. Okay. So, I think napasadahan na rin natin to kanina. Acts of violence against women and their children. Basta lahat ito nagpo-fall under physical abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, and economic abuse. Yan, causing physical harm, threatening to cause physical harm, attempting to cause physical harm. Yan na yun. Kapag deprive mo ang babae ng custody ng kanyang anak, deprive mo yung babae or her children to financially support legally due her or her family. Paano mo masasabing legally due? Kapag may anak kayo, you as the husband really has the legal obligation to provide for the family. Okay? Ano pa ba? Depriving or threatening to deprive the woman or her child of a legal right. At kapag yung babae hindi mo pinayagan magtrabaho, nabanggit na to kanina, or mag-business, or hindi mo pinapagamit sa kanya yung conjugal property ninyo. And then, stalking is also part of uh, psychological abuse. Okay? Kaya masama ang nani-stalk. Peering in the window, sumisilip ka sa bintana ng babae or ng child. Bawal din yun. Nandun ka sa loob ng bahay o ng property ng babae or ng bata kahit hindi ka naman niya pinayagan against their will. And then, banggit na yan. Okay. So the penalties follows the revised penal code, kung ano yung nakalagay na penalties doon. So if sabihin na natin parricide. Parricide is the killing of a spouse, ascendant or descendant. So sabihin natin 'yon. It would apply kung ano yung nakalagay sa revised penal code. Anyway, yeah. Okay, venue. Pag sinabi nating venue, saan uh, diringgin ang kaso? So the regional trial court, designated as a family court, shall have original and exclusive jurisdiction over cases of violence against women and their children under this law. Um, I think na familiar na kayo sa court, no? Sa iba't ibang uri ng courts. So RTC, Regional Trial Court, sa isang lugar, may i-assign na isang RTC for or to act as a family court. Sa Angeles, meron. And it shall have original and exclusive jurisdiction. Ibig sabihin, original sa kanya ang simula. Minsan kasi, di ba, pag mababa lang ang kaso, dumadaan pa yan sa MTC, sa Municipal Trial Court. Some cases, RTC na kaagad. Depende kasi sa penalty, di ba? But in violence against women and children, automatic, RTC na siya agad. Kaya original jurisdiction. Exclusive kasi siya lang ang regional trial court na pwedeng mag-handle nito. Yung family court lang na yun. Okay. Hindi pwede yung ibang RTC. This is because there are certain officers na sa family court lang meron. I have a friend who's working as the court psychologist of dito sa family court natin. So yun, walang court psychologist sa ibang RTC. Doon lang sa family court. Okay. Protection orders. So a protection order is an order issued under this act for the purpose of preventing further acts of violence against a woman or her child specified in Section 5 of this act and granting other necessary relief. The relief granted under a protection order serve the purpose of safeguarding the victim from further harm, minimizing any disruption in the victim's daily life. Kumbaga, kaya nagbibigay ng mga o nag-i-issue ng mga protection orders para nga maprotektahan yung mga yung babae pati yung kanyang mga anak para para makapamuhay pa sila ng normal habang uh, they're living here. Asan ako? And facilitating the opportunity and ability of the victim to independently regain control over her life. Because if you have been a victim for so long, hindi mo na control yung buhay mo eh. Kasi nga 'di ba, bawat action mo tinitignan mo pa. Bawat action mo nag-aalangan ka kasi nga baka mabugbog ka na naman, baka masabihan ka na naman ng kung ano, baka hindi ka na naman sustentuhan. Kaya sobrang ingat mo sa mga kilos mo. But then again, if you already have protection orders, it would help you regain control over your life. But take note ha, hindi porket may protection order, literal na protektado na ang mga victim. Kasi alam niyo naman ang kriminal. Pag gusto, may paraan, di ba? So kahit na may protection order laban sa kanila, pwede nilang, may mga gano'n talaga eh, nilalabag pa rin nila. Wala talagang respect sa law. Okay. The provisions of the protection order shall be enforced by law enforcement agencies. The protection orders that may be issued under this act are the Barangay Protection Order, BPO, Temporary Protection Order, TPO, and Permanent Protection Order, PPO. Yan yung tatlong uri ng protection order na binabanggit dito sa RA 9262. So ano ang mangyayari kapag nakakuha na sila ng protection orders? So prohibition of the respondent from threatening to commit or committing personally or through another any of the acts mentioned doon sa Section 5. Prohibition of the respondent from harassing, annoying, telephoning, contacting, or otherwise communicating with the petitioner directly or indirectly. Then removal and exclusion of the respondent from the residence of the petitioner. Kung magkasama sila sa bahay na silang mag-asawa o silang mag-partner at nagkaroon na ng protection order, paaalisin yung lalaki doon sa bahay. So regardless of ownership of the residence, kahit na kanino pa nakapangalan niyang bahay, kahit sino pang may-ari niyan, basta kapag may protection order, paaalisin yung lalaki. Uh, Either temporarily for the purpose of protecting the petitioner or permanently where no property rights are violated. And if respondent must remove personal effects from the residence, the court shall direct a law enforcement agent to accompany the respondent has gathered his things and escort respondent from the residence. So kung yung lalaki may kukunin pa siyang gamit doon sa bahay, may sasama sa kanyang law enforcement agent or law enforcer, police, or sa barangay. Depende kasi kung anong uri ng protection order eh. So may sasama sa kanya doon sa bahay, titignan kung ano yung mga babaunin niya. Tapos sasabahan siyang palabas. Okay. Directing the respondent to stay away from the petitioner and designated family or household member at a distance specified by the court. May these protection orders are restraining orders. Hindi ka makakalapit at a certain distance. Okay. Sana ako. At the distance specified by the court and to stay away from the residence, school, place of employment, or any specified place frequented by the petitioner and any designated family or household member. Then directing lawful possession and use by petitioner, letter E na tayo, letter E, of an automobile and other essential personal effects regardless of ownership, and directing the appropriate law enforcement officer to accompany the petitioner to the residence of the parties to ensure that the petitioner is safely restored to the possession of the automobile. Automobile and other essential personal effects, or to supervise the petitioner's or respondent's removal of personal belongings. Then granting a temporary or permanent custody of a child to the petitioner. Doon sa victim siya ibibigay. Temporary or permanent. Depende nga sa case yan. Directing the respondent to provide support to the woman and or her child if entitled to legal support. Then letter H, prohibition of the respondent from any use or possession of any firearm or deadly weapon and order him to surrender the same to the court for appropriate disposition by the court, including revocation of license and disqualification to apply for any license to use or possess a firearm. So kung ikaw ay may baril, kukunin yun ng court sa'yo. Kapag ikaw ay na-issuehan ng protection order. And then letter I, restitution for actual damages caused by the violence inflicted, including but not limited to property damage, medical expenses, childcare expenses, and loss of income. Then directing the DSWD or any appropriate agency to provide petitioner may need. Provision of such other forms of relief the court as the court deems necessary to protect and provide for the safety of the petitioner and any designated family or household member. Ayun. Okay. So, we will continue next meeting.